Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wake Up with Toastmasters. My name is Jean Williams. I'm your Program Quality Director for District 115, which is Southern Nevada and a little piece of Utah. And this is my co-host, Jean Dunford. Hi, Jean.
If I can find the mute button, I'd be all set. Good morning. How's everybody doing today?
We got our blue shirt and hat day going. So last Friday, we talked about your first public speaking, your first time visiting a Toastmasters club, your first time at a contest, all the firsts that come with Toastmasters to kind of let the mystery be gone and let you feel confident visiting a club or feel better in your club that everybody has those first experiences. So today I thought we'd talk about our worst speaking experiences, the mistakes we made and how we overcame them, and the things we've learned from Toastmasters that'll help us not make those mistakes again. So I'll start with this. The very first time I took a public speaking class was also the very worst time I ever learned public speaking. It was in college, and I'd given speeches before in high school. You know how you have to do it. But as far as a class on public speaking in college, and the other people in the class graded us like on a scale of 1 to 10. And then those were turned in at the end of the class. And it wasn't until the end of the week when everyone had given, like at the end of the month, when everyone had given their set of speeches, that we found out how we had done. And I wasn't a very popular person, so I didn't rate very, very high, which really hurt my feelings. But unfortunately, I was one of the very first people to speak, like around the second or third of the month. And I didn't find out to the end of the month what my score was. And I thought, I knew I wanted to learn public speaking, and I already knew about Toastmasters. You know, of course, like I told in the last episode, I still thought it was only for men and I couldn't join it. But now I know everybody can join. We're welcome, everyone. But at that time, I thought, wow, this is a horrible public speaking class. But I kept thinking other people might think public speaking is bad, and it's not. But being judged by other people and not getting immediate feedback is something we don't see in Toastmasters. In Toastmasters, if I gave the speech that class, I would have had my evaluation that class and got my feedback by one person saying, this is what I saw, heard, this is what I like, this is how you can improve, these are some really great words of encouragement. And, or if it were a round robin evaluation, different people in the class could chime in. But I'd say that was the worst evaluation of a speech. What about you, Jean? Do you have a worst evaluation story?
Not necessarily an evaluation, but I was best man at my brother's wedding, and I had to do the wedding toast. And it was my first experience public speaking, actually, uh, because I'm like sixth grade, 12 years old, and I have to make a toast at my brother's wedding because I am the best man. That was quite an experience. I don't even remember what I said, but I'm sure that I was very nervous and choked up with emotion too. So I'm sure that I did not come across very well. It couldn't have been the worst best man toast, but it definitely wasn't the best.
That was mute. That was probably your mute. That was probably one of your worst speaking experiences. My worst speaking experience, also way before I got into Toastmasters, I had to give a industry related speech. Well, I just retired from the Internal Revenue Service. Okay, like it or not, that's what had happened. And at one time, I had to give a speech about taxes and tax changes for a group of retired veterans. And as you can imagine, retired veterans, these are people who, 20, 30 years and retired veterans. And these were all officers as well. Very intimidating, very, very intimidating. And I was very, very new and very, very young. I was like 22, 23 years old, maybe, and very naive and very young. And here I stood up in front of these people. And I thought I had this great speech of all the changes that had occurred that they obviously would want to know about. And I had things like claiming dependents and earned income credit for those who work and have young children. And you can kind of see that all my topics were things that would really affect families, and these are retirees. And so nothing I had related to what they, so I finished my speech and they were very nice and very sweet to let me finish the entire speech. Then I made the mistake of saying, anybody have any questions? And the questions they asked were so far above my head because I was so new, and it was so bad. And I just wanted to run away, and I just wanted to hide so bad. I just stood there shaking. And thank goodness this general's wife, because it was officers, I tell you, this general's wife kind of nudges his elbow and whispers something sweetly. He said, I think we've had enough questions now. And I just thank you. And she was such a gracious lady. To this day, I wish I could have thanked her a million times over for all that she did that day. So yeah, that was my worst public speaking experience. So obviously, a couple years later, when they said we're going to start a Toastmasters club at work, I'm there. I tried to fight everybody to get through the door first, because it really can. And I keep thinking, if I had given up right then, oh, public speaking is not for me. I did that once and I made a mistake. So everybody has that one experience that's so bad. So yeah, so that was my know your audience story. Know your audience. If I had just thought about it and researched the group, because I was just told the name of the place to go and that there would be veterans. If I had really done some research, the internet wasn't a thing back then, but if I had done some research and figured out that these were retired veterans, I could have either said, I'm not the person to give this speech, or I could have done a lot of research on things that affect retirees and our senior community. But that was, yeah, so that, what about you, Gene? Anything along there?
It's automatic. Hi there, everybody. I took a class in high school as well with speech. I think I made a D in the class, but I didn't. It was not speaking like I learned in Toastmasters. We were assigned topics and told what to speak on, and with Toastmasters, you pick your own subjects and you can be involved in them, and you can be about what you know already, what you believe, what you have been experiencing. So I did not like speech class, and like Gene was saying, it's more of a popularity class. Oh yeah, everybody votes for your speech because they like you, not because you gave a great speech. And I'm not saying I gave a great speech, but I try to be informative and talk about the drought in South America and how doing all the timber cutting is causing climate change and everything like that. And it was climate change was way before its time because nobody else was talking about climate change. So I think know your audience is exactly what you need to do with your first speech. Is know your audience. Know if you're talking to a bunch of stargazers, talk about the stars. If you're talking to a bunch of retirees from the railroad, talk about the railroad. Know your audience. Know who is going to be receptive to what you have to say.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, we just have this echo problem, you guys, so be patient with us. But one of the things in Toastmasters that you get to learn, and which is wonderful, is impromptu speaking. Now, I never had problems having a conversation one-on-one, never had a problem with that. So impromptu didn't come that hard to me. But there were also times when the question asked, one of the worst table topics experience I ever had, and that was in Toastmasters. And it was about what sort of, I don't drink at all. I'm a teetotaler. And the question was, which alcoholic beverage would go best with this filet mignon dinner? Well, I had no idea. So if somebody asked me in my personal life, just sitting across the lunchroom table, like, I want to make this wonderful filet mignon dinner, what kind of liquor should I buy? Or wine, or I don't even know that. And I could have said, yeah, you're asking the wrong person. I don't drink. And that would have been the end of the answer. But in table topics, you're supposed to answer for 1 to 2 minutes. And I had not mastered the segue yet. I don't mean the writing gizmo, I mean the speech segue. I had not mastered that. I had not, we have fun here, but I had not mastered that. So I stood up to answer this question. I don't even know what I'm saying. I don't even to this day know what I said, but I know everybody was just hysterical with laughter. So I guess I was, I don't know, proposing whiskey. I don't even know what I was suggesting these people have because I was so new. I was still so new in Toastmasters. I didn't understand what I knowing, and I have gotten liquor questions over the years, and now I've learned to say, well, not being a drinker, I wouldn't be able to help you with that. But what I could help you with is the perfect dessert to go with that dinner. And then I could talk about desserts for 1 to 2 minutes. And then I could circle back to, and I hope you're able to get help finding the perfect drink to go with this wonderful dinner and dessert. Right. So there you go. So that's the way you cure it. But at the time, I didn't know. So I just stood up there and I think I said something like, well, I think maybe Jack Daniels could be interesting. I'm just like naming every kind of liquor I've ever heard the title of. And people who drink, like, oh, that wouldn't go at all. So I was like, oh, maybe a Merlot. I don't even know what a Merlot is, but I wanted to sound intelligent. Oh, a Merlot, perhaps. And you can just see the people looking horrified. So that was my worst table topics question, but it's avoidable, and you learn in Toastmasters that. So obviously that helps you though. The help that gave me circle back to, if it's my friend I'm talking to, I can say, I don't drink, I don't know. But if I were being interviewed and they asked me a question, I could perhaps say, well, I've never encountered A, B before, but I have encountered BC. And the way that B worked and the BC equation was, and I could talk about that and then say, knowing this little bit I know about A, I would assume it would go this way, but I'm eager to learn. And that's why I'd be great at this job, because I am eager to learn. So again, the learning to not to avoid the question, because you don't want to be at a job interview and say, no, I don't want to answer that. And people will tell you in Toastmasters, you don't even have to answer the question at all. You can answer any question, but I wouldn't go that far afield. Like I said, if I had known, I would have talked about desserts to go with this wonderful dinner, because the dinner is still at the core of the answer. But I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, I don't want to answer your question about your filet mignon dinner. But my favorite pair of shoes, I was 7 years old and they were red shoes. Then everybody just, and if you're being on a job interview, obviously you'd flop on that. What was your worst table topics, Gene? Or impromptu?
Well, you mentioned job interviews. That's the reason I got into Toastmasters, was to improve my job hunting skills. I got invited on several interviews. One company I went to work for or went to apply for, was 7 different partners that each had their name on the door. And by the time I got to the 6th interview, I was just tired of interviewing with yeah, it was like, either you're gonna hire me or you're not gonna hire me. But this 7 interviews from 7 different people was, and it's like 7 weeks involved in going on all these interviews. It was very time consuming. And finally, at the last interview, I said, I don't even think I would go to work at this company after all of these interviews. I've learned so much about the company. So yeah, I've had some really bad job interviews, but that's the amazing thing is that you get through it. It doesn't matter how bad you think you're doing. You can do better by going to Toastmasters and practicing. The impromptu speaking is great, because I love when I get asked a question that I have no idea what the answer is. That's my favorite table topics question. Oh, yes. I have picked Chilean tamales right off the vine. As they were coming right out of the plant, I had the freshest tamales you could ever have. Those tamales just right off the vine. Those were the best tamales I've ever seen. We all know tamales don't come off a vine, but you can say that in table topics and get away with it. How about you, Gene? I have to mute.
I I think it is funny because yeah, you're right. You get asked those questions, but it still comes down to Toastmasters is the way to make the learning experience fun. It's a way to make a mistake. It's and have people laugh with you and overcome it. It's the way to not get graded or judged or just to give your speech and then learn about yourself, because it's those speeches like where you have the courage. I'll tell you, like, let's go over to the worst evaluation. And I don't mean worse like you ever had to give a bad evaluation, but the worst evaluation experience I had as a giver of an evaluation. And worst is probably not the word, but that's our topic for the day, is the worst. I'm excited. We got a brand new person in our Toastmasters club. She had never spoke before. She was so nervous about coming. Finally, you know everybody in the group. You know every single person in the room already, because this was a company club. You might as well just come. You already know all of us. Finally, she got enough courage to come, and she came for 2 or 3 weeks, and she joined. And we said, okay, now you need to give your icebreaker speech. It was a 4 to 6 minute speech, not 46, 4 to 6 minute speech about you. And you can pick, like Jean said, you can pick any topic you want about you. You could talk about your vacation to the Grand Canyon. You could talk about your favorite Christmas. You could talk about the day you were born, anything you want to talk about you. And it's 4 to 6 minutes. So 4 to 6 minutes about you is usually pretty easy because you know you better than everybody else does. So she stood up with her sheet of paper, just shaking like a leaf. You can hear this paper through the room because it just sounded so loud when the room is quiet. And we were all so excited because she had told us how nervous she was. It was her very first speech ever. She had written it all out. She said, I'll probably have to read my entire speech because I'm so scared. And we knew she was nervous. Oh, that's fine. If you have to read the whole thing, just try to look up sometimes. And that's an icebreaker. That's where you learn. So she had a sheet of paper with her whole speech written out. I'm her evaluator. So back then we had books. So I'm writing her name on the line, and I'm writing my name on the bottom for the evaluator, and on the top, and the date. And her title is, all about me. So I wrote all about me, and all of a sudden I looked up and there was nobody there. And so I tried to replay the tape in my mind, and all of a sudden, what actually had happened, and I did see the speech, but I just didn't. I thought she was still getting ready, and then she was done. But she got up there. My name is Marilyn, and I work in the accounting department. I really like my job, and I have a great family too. And then she sat down. And I have to give a 2 to 3 minute evaluation over a speech that lasted about 15 seconds. So that was the worst, because you want to be encouraging. That's what evaluation is supposed to be. An evaluation is supposed to be encouraging. The phrase Jean uses and Toastmasters used to use a lot is evaluate to motivate. So I'm supposed to evaluate her in a way to motivate her to give subsequent speeches for 2 to 3 minutes when she spoke for 10 seconds. That was tough. And that was the hardest evaluation I ever had to give. But when I really started thinking about it, I started like, you just, what are phrases I've learned? Did we learn about you? Yes, we are from the accounting department. You have a family and you love them. We learned about you. You got up to speak. You had the courage to come up and speak. You were prepared. You had your speech written out. Okay, this is the hard part though, encouragement. You don't want to kick somebody and where they never want to come back. So encouragement. She did stand up. She did speak. A lot of people never even walk into Toastmaster meetings, never even try because they're too nervous about speaking. And she came and she spoke. That's fabulous. So I suggested that maybe she write it on an index card. Then it'd be a little bit easier. And maybe write a few more facts to share with us more facts about her. Maybe her favorite vacation spot, or what she likes best about her job, or something unique that makes her family special or unique, things like that. And so that was the words of encouragement. Let's learn more about you. We want to know more about you. And speak a little bit louder. Let's try projecting a little bit. That was it. That was the evaluation. So of course I expanded a little bit more, but it was very encouraging to her, which I was glad of, because that was my worst evaluation experience. What about you, Jean?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. My worst evaluation experience. Um, I had a new club that I was a coach for, and they were all accountants, and they were all working on the same project. And we had three speakers, and all three speakers gave exactly the same speech about the same topic from their different perspectives, which was kind of a unique experience. But I'm not sure I'm not sure I'm qualified to tell you what my worst experience was. I'm sure that somebody that I've evaluated would be able to tell you right off the bat my worst experience. But before I go into that, I want to give a shout out to our Facebook followers. Tino is online along with Jennifer and Ken. And so the whole team is on Wake Up with Toastmasters live on Facebook. So howdy out there, everybody. And if you're out there on Facebook, give us a shout. Say how you like the show, if you have a question. Carol Wayman just came in. Good morning, Carol. Nice to see you. Her worst evaluation experience was when she was evaluating a level 1 evaluate and feedback. So that would be an interesting. We need to have Carol come on the show and give us a talk about her experience.
Oh, me,
Yeah,
me.
yeah. We need somebody that tells us what to do here. The problem I have is one thing is not working the other. There we go.
You have to make me co-host, and then I can mute you. Oh, hey, Tino. Tino gave a great. Tino, I met in Z Toasters, and then he gave a fabulous contest speech, and got quite far with that. And actually, and I'm going to get the title wrong here, Tino. I think he won like the best speaker contest recently. He won one level and got to level 3, and then the third place in the next level. So, see, Toastmasters helps. Toastmasters helps. Yeah. So hey, everybody. Oh, and Ken, we need to get a group shot of all of the hosts of Wake Up with Toastmasters. But so let's talk about. So I'll tell you about one of the other worsts I have. I was timer. Okay, timer is, for those of you who are not in Toastmasters, the timer. You tell, like, if you have a 5 to 7 minute speech, the green card will come up at 5 because you met the minimum time. A yellow card or yellow background will come up at 6 because you're halfway through, and red will come up at 7, and then you're done. So I'm in a meeting, and it was at Library 2.0, which is one of our corporate clubs. So I was there as a guest, and they asked me to be timer. I said, "Oh, not a problem. Love to be timer. It's one of my easy favorite roles." So I have my cards in front of me. I'm all set to go. And I had not been to the library in many, many, many years, because back then it was like and card catalogs and the whole thing. But it's come a very long way. And for those of you who frequent the library, you already know there's so many services and so many things and so many. It was just so this lady was giving a speech about the things that the library offers, because she was practicing a speech she was to give to a community center to talk about the library. And she starts giving the speech, and just fascinating. So Jean actually was with me, and I was saying, wow. Every time and now we also offer this online. Wow. And she talked, and I'm timer, but I had started the clock, and just so fascinating. Wow. And I'm jotting down notes because so many things she covered, and I'm so fascinated. And then I noticed she's making a lot of eye contact with me. Why is she making so much eye contact with me? That's odd. I wonder if she knows she should make eye contact with everybody. Wow, she really is looking at me a lot. I feel like I'm the only one she's talking to. That's okay. She can improve. That's just not a really great way to do eye contact. And then she said, I could tell you so much more if I just had the time to tell you. And I still don't get it. So I'm still just staring at her. She's staring at me. And finally she said, I just don't feel like I would have the time to talk about this anymore. And I looked at it, I was like 12 minutes. So this poor lady's 5 to 7 minute speech because of me didn't even get the green card. And it's 12 minutes in. So then when I finally dawned on me, I went, oh no. Of course, everybody's laughing. And of course, they're not laughing at her, they're laughing at me. That was like my funniest and worst timing experience ever. So I figure if it's in a club, that's not as bad as being in a contest and messing up his timer. But so that was one of my worst timing experiences. Do you, do you, and we're close to our time now, so we won't get to talk about any more worsts. But I do want to any more Facebook activity, Jean?
What I need is a switch that I can switch from one keyboard to the other keyboard without having to move one keyboard over. Let's work on that. Yes, Carol was saying that she had an evaluation form problem, that she didn't have the right form to do the evaluation. And she got scolded by the Toastmaster for not being prepared. I hate that when the Toastmaster does that. That's not a very polite thing to do. So I'm sorry that happened, Carol. I've been scolded by other people, so I know how that feels. But I'll tell you, the Free Toast Toast has the agenda. If you use Free Toast Toast, it has the evaluation form right embedded in the speech, where when you put down the path and everything, and you can just click on that, and it downloads pretty easy. However, some other forms that people are using for their agendas, not that friendly. But back to you, Miss Jean.
So I'm sitting here muted. You're not helping me, Jean. I'm so sorry. He didn't hear me in his ears, and I'm talking away. So what I basically said was, if everybody has worsts, even if you're having a worst, come to a Toastmaster meeting, check the venue if they're online or hybrid or in person. Sorry if you couldn't read my lips, and Jean didn't tell me I was muted. Shame on you. Shame on you, Jean. I'm taking you to task. But come to a Toastmaster meeting, have a lot of fun, be supported. Thank you very much. And one of us will see you on Monday with our new co-host, Anita Della Croce. So one of us will see you with Anita, and not you with Anita, but one of us and Anita will see you on Monday morning at 6 a.m. on Wake Up with Toastmasters. Bye.